Patriots of the American Republic, welcome back to our channel. And, continuing on with this disastrous administration. In our prior video, we tackled Bidenomics and how everybody's feeling the pinch. They're lying to you. We showed from the very beginning that they were lying to you, or they got it wrong at best, right? Where they were talking about how the inflation was transitory, but here we are at the end and it's not. Likewise, in the next subject matter that we're going to talk about, we're going to show you right from the very beginning what Democrats used to sound like and where they're at today. And the interesting part is this is, and like I've mentioned before plenty of times, this is prior to Obama's second term. Prior to Obama's second term, every single prominent Democrat was against illegal immigration. Obama's second term, boom, the rhetoric flips, and now it's all Democrats are for open borders. So just like we did in the last time, let's do a nice little refresher of where we're at regarding this particular subject matter.
Along our borders. The fence is now basically complete. Maybe they'll need a moat. Maybe they want alligators in the moat.
Secure our borders with technology, personnel, physical barriers if necessary in some places.
We will not build a wall. Instead, we will build an economy where everyone who wants a good job can get one.
I voted for a fence. I voted, unlike most Democrats, and some of you won't like it, I voted for 700-mile fence. And let me tell you something, folks. People are driving across that border with tons, hear me, tons of everything from byproducts from methamphetamine to cocaine to heroin. It's all coming up through corrupt Mexico.
And the impulse is to hunker down, shut the gates, build walls, exit at this moment is precisely the wrong answer.
Former presidents have said to him that they wish that they had built a wall. Do you recall President Obama ever saying that?
Come on.
Construction of a 630-mile border fence create a significant barrier to illegal immigration on our southern land border.
All along, the president's saying, well, I'll do DACA and Dreamers in return for the wall. He's got it. President Trump, if you want to open the government, you must abandon the wall.
So there you have it. Obama was very sly in his approach as he deported more illegal immigrants than any other U.S. president, and that still remains true to this very day. At some point, he suddenly switched his position, which was obvious when he implemented DACA. Now, during his second term, it was very obvious he was for open borders. It was undeniable, obvious when Donald Trump came on the scene. He manipulated the masses to believe the issue was about racism and skin color versus illegal immigration versus law and order, as well as domestic security. As you noticed in that video, he pretty much said, oh, what did he want? Built a moat around it next to keep brown people out? This has nothing to do with that, right? It has to do with the rule of law, right? We establish laws. You and I, as American citizens, we got to follow every law in the book, whether we agree with it or not. Why do people who are not from this country get to break it and there are no consequences? It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, since losing the White House to Joe Biden, Obama's open border policy has been put on steroids. I mean, we know that this is Obama's policy. You know, some reports are saying that over 11 million immigrants have entered the country from around the world. That includes Middle Easterns, Africans, Asians, and of course, naturally Hispanics have flooded the border. And I mean, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they do this if Joe himself told them to flood the border on the campaign trail? Let's do a refresher on that video because we've played it before.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
You see that? We're going to flood the border, right? Why wouldn't somebody come if you say that, right? But then here's the other part, in another refresher video that we've played here before. He says he's not going to deport them.
The Obama-Biden administration deported more than 3 million Americans. My question to you is, if an individual is living in the United States of America without documents and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
No. Depending if they committed a major crime. They should be deported. And the president was left in his... President Obama, I think, did a heck of a job. To compare him to what this guy's doing is absolutely, I find, close to immoral. But the fact is that, look, we should not be locking people up. We should be making sure we change the circumstance, as we did, why they would leave in the first place. And those who come seeking asylum, we should immediately have the capacity to absorb them, keep them safe until they can be heard.
A 15-second, if you could, if you wish to answer. Should someone who is here without documents, and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
That person should not be the focus of deportation. We should fundamentally change the way we deal with things.
Senator.
So there are a few things that jump out at me. The most obvious and direct is that they won't get deported. If they're seeking political asylum, which is obviously being abused, right? Now they just generalize it and say asylum, right? But we understand that that's supposed to be political asylum, right? Because if it's just regular old asylum, well, that'll include the entire world. Anybody can come in, sure, why not, right? So it's got to be political asylum. And which countries are under a dictatorship aside from, let's just look at our Hispanic neighbors, Cuba and arguably Venezuela, even though Venezuela is still a democracy on paper, right? They have elections, right? But those are the only two. Every other Hispanic country is pretty much a democracy, right? They have elections. So the next thing that he said that he captured my ear, which goes in hand with the first point, which is fundamentally change the system. Yeah, they definitely did fundamentally change the system. They fundamentally changed, and remember, I've said this before, they're masters at linguistics. They fundamentally changed the definition of an asylum seeker. Again, it used to be political persecution for your politics, your religion, your race, your whatever, right? Now it includes domestic violence. Guess what? If you are fleeing domestic violence, now you can claim asylum here. Well, why? If you are fleeing government corruption or poverty, that's also in the understanding of claiming asylum. We got poor people here in this country. There's violent places here in this country. Where are they supposed to flee to? It's absolutely absurd, but they're doing it. Listen, the Democrats they're open about what they're doing. We're just either A, we think it's something else, or B, we're ignoring it. I don't know. So that's that. Then the final thing that I noticed is the criminal aspect. Yes, anyone who comes in illegally is breaking the law, but in referring to hard criminals such as like drug dealers, cartels, sex offenders, etc., it should really be a no-brainer that those people get deported. I mean, according to this video, this is it's an immediate deportation. If they have a criminal record, they should have it. They should be gone. And yet we're not seeing that. We're not seeing that. We reported last year how the Venezuelan government took a play from Cuba's communistic playbook and emptied out their prisons of criminals in exchange for them leaving the country and heading to the U.S. It's like, hey, we'll let you out, but you gotta go to the U.S. You can't be here. You gotta be done. I mean, if the border's wide open, if I'm a dictator and I'm spending money, taxpayer dollars on government facilities, on judges, on lawyers, on guards, all of this stuff, on the legal process, I'm spending all this money, and then to keep them, to maintain these criminals. And there's not too far away, there's an open border that's allowing everybody and anybody in. Why wouldn't I do that? So we've got all of these people coming in here, and a lot of them are actual hardened criminals. And we see that because there's been a rise in violent crime in this country. There's been reports of street gangs in New York, which we've filmed, we've shown in prior videos. Illegals fighting cops. Imagine that. You entered this country illegally, and now you're committing a second offense by fighting against police officers. And I'm not talking about a verbal fight or a verbal argument. I'm talking about fist fighting, throwing chairs, etc., breaking additional laws, right? And there's even been lots of reports of sexual assaults on minors. I mean, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Most media leftist outlets won't even report it because obviously it goes against their agenda. Now, recently there's been a focus on a specific issue of squatters, which I had never heard of. prior to this, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. But then when you throw in other elements of this particular lunacy, it's just a recipe for disaster. So let's see one of the byproducts of the open border policy. Let's check this next video out.
So scumbags like this know the legal loopholes and know how to work the system, which was put in place by a bunch of Marxist Democrat lawmakers who see landlords as the bourgeoisie ruling class. But guess who else is learning about these loopholes? The criminal invader illegal aliens. And now they're sharing their wisdom on TikTok, encouraging others to do the exact same thing.
Mi gente, he pensado invadir una casa en United States, ya que me enteré que existe una ley que dice que si una casa no está habitada, podemos expropiarla. Capichi, muchachos, aquí en United States también se aplica la de invasión de terreno. Y creo que ese será mi próximo negocio. Invadir casas abandonadas, ya que me he buscado unos códigos con mis amigos africanos y me dijeron que ya llevan como 7 casas expropiadas. Y como dice el dicho, papi, hay que buscar la vuelta. Y la vuelta ahorita mismo es invadir casas, ya que nos encontramos en situación de calle y es la única manera que tenemos para no vivir en la calle y no ser una carga pública. Capichi, la ley dice que las casas abandonadas, deterioradas y que esté en mal estado, podemos llegar y repararlas, vivir en ellas y si podemos venderla, hasta pedir créditos con ella. ¿Qué dicen ustedes?
So that's why that other scumbag had a contractor come to the house and do some supposed work, probably paint the front door for $50, so he could have an invoice showing that he paid for work on the house with his name on it, listed at that address, so he could use that as supposed evidence that he was supposedly living there. And that's what this guy was just talking about. So they're trying to game the system because they're seeing what others have been doing in the big cities for years. And lawmakers in Florida have been seeing what's going on in New York, and so they just updated their supposed squatter rights laws in order to further protect property owners from being taken advantage of by these scumbags.
So I'm shocked that there's a law allowing people to invade someone's home simply because it's not currently vacated or it's not being habited at the moment, and give them legal protection from being kicked out. And then to compound the ridiculousness of how dumb this law is, we have now illegal immigrants telling other illegal immigrants what to do and how to invade people's homes and take it for yourself. And that's very, very similar to what they do over there in South America. And I can tell you from firsthand because my father, like I said, my father's from Peru. And I remember going back in 2015 for my grandparents' wedding anniversary. And where my grandparents' house is, you know, there was a mountain right in front of it, and you can already start to see the invasion happening on the side of the mountain. I remember asking my dad, you know, what's going on up there, because not all the houses were constructed. People just come and they invade the territory, and now it's a little bit different because it was empty land, right? But in this case, in Venezuela, I don't know how it is, but my wife heard this video. When she heard it, she was like, you know what, this is just classic Chavista and Maduro and the socialist, Marxist socialists that are doing that over there in Venezuela. Now they're trying to do this here. But I mean, how self-defeating are these policies that protect it? Now, thank goodness that we live here in, or I do, in Florida, and Ron DeSantis and our legislatures got together, and as Mark Dice reported, right, they kind of tightened the wheels and made sure that homeowners were protected, and as the article said, they revoked squatters' rights. In addition to that, one bit of small good news was that particular malandro, as they're called, as Venezuelans call these types of people, they're basically thugs and hood rats and whatnot, right? But that guy's been arrested, and hopefully that guy's going to be deported. I also saw another video of him doing on TikTok where he's laughing it up. He's got the newborn and how he's not working or doing anything, and he's living off of the taxes of the gringos like me. And so I hope this loser gets deported. But anyhow, at this juncture, it's almost impossible to pretend this isn't all being done on purpose. This administration has prevented multiple border states from putting up barriers, like in Arizona, preventing flotation devices, like in Texas, and even prevented Texas from putting up razor wire along their border to, as protection. So let's take a look at that video.
All right, Sherman, thanks for that report. We have some more breaking news from Austin. A federal judge has ordered the state to remove the floating barrier in the Rio Grande. The buoys were put out there in July to prevent migrants from crossing the border. The judge gave Texas until September 15th to take that barrier down. The Justice Department says the state put up the buoys without permission. Governor Greg Abbott says that the state will appeal.
Governor Ducey has agreed to take down the boxcars that were being used to kind of fill some gaps in the U.S.-Mexico border. They were put out there, shipping containers. Last week, the federal government sued to get the containers removed so then they could have these big gaps in the wall. So a spokesman for the governor telling the New York Times he's agreeing to take them down because federal officials appear to be sincere about taking steps to build a permanent barrier. Those steps were announced this summer. It's not clear yet when that construction might actually begin or the actual date on when the containers would be removed.
The Supreme Court will allow Border Patrol agents to remove razor wire that was installed by Texas along the southern border. The High Court granted an emergency request filed by the Biden administration. It argued the wire prevents agents from reaching migrants who have already crossed over. Texas Governor Greg Abbott ordered the wire to be installed near the Rio Grande River as part of the operation to prevent illegal immigration.
Now, we put that series together because they're happening in 3 different times across, at least 2 different states. But I want you to keep in mind, we even reported how the feds ordered Texas National Guards to stand down as they opened a locked gate, allowing illegals to come through in another part of Texas. Let's take a look at that. That's another reminder.
For years, we have told you that walls work. And we've got graphic proof of just that. So just imagine there's a wall on our southern border, right? And the migrants are on the Mexican side, and they cannot get through to the American side. And it was not until our man down on the border, Bill Malugin, tweeted this out yesterday that we saw that we now know how some of the migrants are getting in, even though the walls are working. Look at this.
Yeah, the walls work and the gates work if the locks stay on them. But look at this video. So the Fox News was down there, and we witnessed the National Guard locking this gate at the border on private property at a major crossing area in Eagle Pass to deny the illegals to come into or further into the U.S. Then Fox News witnesses the Border Patrol agents come along with a key. They open the gate to illegals that are standing outside of the gate and allowed them to go through for processing, all with the Texas National Guard just standing there watching.
So now I'd like to point out that this administration was in complete denial about a border crisis until governors from Texas and Florida started shipping them to sanctuary cities, and then it was undeniable. So now one can argue this issue is not self-inflicted, rather it's being done on purpose. And I myself believe the latter. The surface reasoning is that these people will, eventually become the, Democrat voting bloc, the predominant Democrat voting bloc. And I would agree, because I've even said that myself. But then there are others that say illegals can't vote, so it won't impact this current election cycle. That's true on the surface, but Democrats are good at playing both the short game and the long game and the legitimate game and the illegitimate game, right? Why do you think they champion a pathway to citizenship for these illegals, right? Because that's the long game. The short game is that they will have these illegals voting now, which is why they're against voter ID. They understand that if there's voter ID, then their schemes won't really play out. I'd like to show you an article that was posted about 4 days ago, 4 or 5 days ago from Newsmax, where it shows specifically where Democrats, now of course they're going to deny it, are actually advising or directing illegal immigrants to vote and to vote for Biden. So as I'm scrolling through this, you can absolutely see this, and this is absolutely absurd, that these people are telling illegal immigrants to vote. And this is why we need voter ID. It should be across the board, but of course they're going to fight it because it doesn't benefit them. I guarantee, and I've seen this meme before that says that if illegals were voting for Republicans, Democrats would be shouting from the rooftops to have voter ID. And I do believe that's the case. Now, perhaps it's a miscalculation from the left that they're, because they're turning off a lot of their constituents, their base constituents. There's plenty of videos from the black community voicing their disapproval of the housing and providing food and support for non-citizens while their own communities are in constant need. I remember bringing up this question to our friend Middle MAGA, Osiris, on why does the black community support illegal immigration? Isn't it self-defeating? And I mean, if you think about it, the black community is pretty stagnant, 13-14%, somewhere around there. But then the Hispanic community keeps growing, every time there's one of these caravans or these surges or whatever the case may be. So who do you think has more political power, or is going to have it, or continues to obtain it? It's going to be the Hispanic community. So it's really self-defeating for the black community to continue to support the Democrats who support open borders and support illegal immigration. But it looks like we could have a potential answer as a poll from last week from the New York Post, and they're actually reporting from Axios, that seems to suggest the vast majority of Americans are in support of mass deportation. Now, that includes 42% of Democrats. So it could be that the Democrats, a good portion, almost half of them, are up to they're just fed up. They're fed up with all of the illegal immigration. They're fed up with the government giving them support that's taxpayer funded. Obviously, anything that the government gives away for free, it has to come from somewhere. And where does it come from? It comes from us. It comes from taxpayers. So here you've got these people, and they see that their community is in need, and yet the government officials that they elected are giving it to people who don't even belong here. It's absolutely absurd. Now, there's a video I shared the other day of on my private social media account of illegals being allowed to come through the airport without ID. Now let's check that one out.
He doesn't need an ID. Oh, here's some more. See, they as well don't. They just have they need to go over here because, right, so more are showing up. They just kind of show up here, right? And then they just help them right on through. Oh, here's some more. Oh, there or here. They don't know. No passport. No passport. You can't come through here. You got to go over here. See, they got to keep telling them. You got to go over here because you don't have a passport. You don't have any ID. Passport and ID. Oh, we don't have that. Or do they? Right?
Are you filming this?
I'm filming what?
Are you filming?
Filming what?
What are you filming? Okay. Are you flying out?
I will be.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you don't need an ID, right?
Oh, we do need ID.
You do?
Yes.
You do need an ID.
I do need ID.
For everyone? You need an ID for everyone. Interesting. So everybody needs an ID, just not these people.
Stop filming.
I'm sorry?
Stop filming. It's okay.
Yeah, I know I can.
I just want to talk to you anyway. It's okay.
It's okay. I can film. This is a public area.
I know what it is.
Yeah. That's right. So you got someone I can talk to? Is that what you said?
Oh, I said that. That's how I understand the law. I do.
I mean, you would think you did. I mean, because it's just for some people you need an ID. Right. Because you just said everybody needs one.
I know.
But so that's not true.
You know straight who to go to for that. Trust me, if I could talk to him, I would. You know who to go to for that.
Who is that? Who?
You know.
So as he said, everyone needs one, but then not everyone needs one. I guess. Oh, see, there's more, and we're just gonna. This is, you know, we're just gonna.
All carry-on baggage or firearms before entering the street.
Oh, she's taking a picture. Well, at least they have a picture of them, right? And then they're gonna write their name. It's like, my name is Bernice, and you can take my picture. That's your ID. Can you imagine that? You just take a picture of yourself and then you, like, you know, edit it or whatever and just write your name on it, and you're like, this is my ID. That's all you need these days. So I'm just going to take a picture of them and then let them go right through. And again, my battery's getting low, so I'm going to catch as much as I can, you guys. I should have brought my charger with me. That's okay. The new ID is just a photo. She's going to send it to the DMV and register them to vote, so don't worry about it, you guys. It makes the process so easy. You know what I'm saying? Oh, not them, not yet. You got to wait. I don't know if it's dimming for you guys too, but I don't know how much battery I have left, but so it's going to cut out at some point. I apologize, but at least giving you as much as I can while it's still there. And it gives you a pretty good idea what the heck's going on. And, you know, this should be a concern for all of us. We should be concerned for our nation, especially when our money is going to destroy it. It's just like when we're, you know, paying taxes for driving cars and then they're using that money to... Am I traveling? Always. Always. Here she goes. She's going to come and try and give me a hard time.
Are you traveling?
Always.
Are you flying out?
Always.
Oh, are you in line?
I'm waiting.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hi.
I got a call saying that you were harassing.
You're harassing?
Yeah.
TSA and Airport Authority managed security checks.
So just not, I'm not harassing anybody.
I'm just trying to get your side of it.
But you're putting on your gloves.
I just always put on
all carry-on baggage for firearms
For what?
before entering the street.
We have illegals here that don't even need an ID to come in here. And you're coming and talking to me? For what?
Letting you know why we are contacting you.
Okay. And you put on your gloves.
I do this for every call.
It's everything.
So, I mean, are you trying to intimidate me or?
Not at all. I'm trying to get your side of the story so we can
I'm not harassing.
understand
I'm just recording. I'm being, just watching what's happening.
Okay. Do you have a flight?
Not today.
Okay.
And I don't need one to be in here. This is public.
Okay.
And I can film out here in public. How am I harassing anybody?
That's not harassment.
It's not.
If you're going...
So me just sitting here isn't harassment. So.
Well, the call came out as far as you talking to immigrants in a disrespectful manner.
Talking to immigrants, illegals, you mean? And I wasn't in a disrespectful manner. I wasn't even actually talking to them. I talked to that gentleman. I was being very respectful. He's been smiling at me the whole time. So why is this going on? Right? You're coming, these people have crossed the border illegally. And you're coming at me and saying I'm harassing them? We're paying for this.
Ma'am.
Now, the lady, by the way, this is unacceptable as a U.S. citizen. Not only do we have illegals coming over the border illegally, obviously, but in addition, now we have illegals either being flown into the country or being flown to other parts of the country. Because this lady is saying that, you know, they don't have their passports, but, you know, one doesn't need a passport to fly domestically, but they clearly don't have ID. They might not have a passport. If they're, like, for instance, if they're being flown to another area of the country, then they don't need a passport, but they do need an ID, but they weren't showing an ID. They were just showing their ticket, right? So that's that. And then the guy who's there seems to confirm indirectly that, yeah, they don't have their passports and yeah, they don't need it. And, you know, you may need to talk to, you know who you need to talk to, he goes, right? So, I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. And these are the things that is destroying this this administration's any type of credibility. I mean, we know, everybody on the right knows where it stands, but to those that are either on the left or in the middle, like independents, it's huge for them, right? Because illegal immigration is a huge thing. You've got a huge block of legal immigrants, right? Legal Hispanic immigrants that are absolutely against this. And so I also need to express and solidify to people that, people that are against illegal immigration, it has nothing to do with race, because that's the rhetoric that you're going to hear from the left. It's that you're a racist, you're against immigration. Remember, they're really good with linguistics. They muddy the water by using immigration as opposed to illegal immigration to make it seem like you're the racist, right? But no, this has nothing to do with anybody's race. Number one, Hispanics come in all different shapes and colors. We're black, we're brown, we're Asian, we're white, we're everything, right? Case in point. Right? So to say that you're against brown people or people of color is absolutely ridiculous and absolutely absurd. And it's just a falsehood. Don't let them do that to you, right? This has to do with rule of law. Again, I'm going to say this again. I, as a U.S. citizen, I was born in this country. I am expected to follow every single law on the book, regardless of whether I want to or not. If not, I get penalized, I get fined, I go to jail depending on what I do, right? If I refuse to pay my taxes, which is a federal law, then guess what? Uncle Sam comes knocking on my door, and if I don't pay up, then I'm pretty much going to get my property seized, maybe arrested, who knows, right? So in addition, immigration process helps with securing the citizens within it. It's no different than our house. We lock our door. Why? Because we want to protect the people inside of it from the crazies that are on the outside. And that's exactly what securing the border does. It helps to secure the citizens within the country and helps protect them against terrorists, against murderers, against rapists. Now, some people are going to say, well, we've got that already in our country. Yeah, but do we need more of that from people who shouldn't be here to begin with? I mean, if you've got 10% crime rate, let's just say, in these specific, in let's say, sex offenses, and now you bring in all these illegal immigrants, and then it jumps up another 10, 15, 20%. Guess what? That's 10, 15, 20% that should have never happened to begin with. So, again, this has nothing to do with race or ethnic background. It has to do with the rule of law, and it has to do with security. There's a process to make sure that everybody that comes in is not going to harm everybody that's in the inside. And that leads us into our next subject matter, which we're going to cover in the next video, is the border, excuse me, it's not the border. The next topic that we're going to cover is international policies and how the international policies not only affect countries abroad, but how they can affect us from within, and how that having that open border is even a bigger danger and a bigger threat due to the bad policies that are being in place on an international scale. So guys, thanks so much for joining. Until the next one, take care. God bless you. God bless America. See you next time.